Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lifestyle with Dr. I'm Dr. Moby, and today we have a great guest. Let's welcome Kalaila.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good today. How are you?
Thank you for joining our show. And she's all the way from Canada. So tell us about yourself.
My name is Kalaila, as we've said, and I am an author and artist in Canada, and I currently live with a diagnosis of dissociative identity disorder, and have 2 books coming out in 2022.
Very nice. What are those names of those books?
So the book coming out in February is a poetry collection called Scarlet, and the book coming out hopefully mid to late 2022 will be called The Buried King.
Okay, very nice. And where did you pick those names? Was there any significance?
I just thought of them and they just happened to seem to fit.
Okay, very nice. So tell me about your poetry. When did you start poetry?
I've been writing for a long time, but my poetry I started back in 2016, but I didn't start really writing it until 2017. And from there, it just blossomed. I have another book called When I Am Someone Else, available on Amazon, that I wrote and self-published this one. And it's the precursor to the upcoming Scarlet. But the poetry is focused solely on mental health, addiction, grief, and all those deep, touching subjects that we don't talk about as often as we should.
Okay. And so also tell me about some of the fiction you mentioned also about you do a lot of fiction writing.
Yes, I am writing. So currently, The Buried King is a fantasy, and it is a young adult genre focused on a character Elika, who has to survive quite a bit of adversity, and the main focus is to show the need for connection and the power of friendship, to put it blatantly, and how she can recover from what's happened to her to become better for the future generations.
Oh, very nice. Is it based on some reality?
In a bit, yes, yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so you have kind of got the idea and then tried to write something.
Yes.
Very nice. Also, tell me about your basically other things which you do. You were mentioning about dissociative disorder.
Yes, I have dissociative identity disorder, which is a mental health diagnosis focused on a disorder stemming from PTSD and trauma, and it is consists of 2 alternating minimum personality states. So basically, in layman's terms, I have 2 parts of myself that are very active and very opposite from another. The disorder itself can be covert and overt, but mine is relatively covert.
So your 2 personalities, do you have any control on when they?
No.
Okay, so they're totally different personalities.
Yes.
Okay. And does it bother yourself or your family?
It has caused a lot of interpersonal distress and a lot of experiences that otherwise I wouldn't have had to deal with. A lot of psychiatric hospitalizations, and it's caused a lot of stress.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. So, but you said it stems from PTSD.
Yes. Dissociative identity disorder, also known as DID, is a trauma-based disorder stemming from repeated severe childhood abuse.
Oh, yes, sorry to hear that. And means a lot that you want to share all this and for educational purpose.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing. Also, tell me a little bit. I see that you have also posted a lot on mental health, and I understand you want to help others. But
The biggest way to help others, I think, for me would be through my writing and just helping people understand and learn through the writing and through my story that hope is possible, recovery is possible,
Mhm,
and you don't have to sit in the rut for so long. And my biggest hope is that I can just help somebody feel a little less alone in what they're experiencing.
mhm,
Because let's be honest, nobody wants to be alone in their experiences.
mhm. That is truly. Also, tell me a little bit about some of the help you you are finding it with your diagnosis and like things which really help.
So I've actually done a lot of different types of therapies from MBT, CBT, DBT. I even had ECT, which is electroconvulsive therapy. Currently, I'm doing the very basics of trauma therapy and slowly making my way to doing EMDR.
Hmm. So those therapies seem to work for you.
Pardon?
Those therapies seems to help you.
DBT is a very beneficial therapy for almost anybody. It involves mindfulness, interpersonal effectiveness, distress tolerance, and so on and so forth. And it's can be beneficial for everybody to learn in some way. The electroconvulsive therapy was not quite beneficial. It did cause a lot of disruption, but
Mhm,
what's done is done. It was an experience. We'll put it down to that.
mhm,
And the trauma therapy, however, has been a life changer.
mhm. So that has. So those are few which really help, right?
Yes.
Oh, what about meditation?
I have been on multiple medications, very, very many.
Mhm,
And it's come down to I was on olanzapine for a while, and it
mhm,
was fantastic, but unfortunately, it did introduce some very severe metabolic effects,
mhm,
like weight gain, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all those not so great things. So it developed into me gaining over 100 pounds in a very short amount of time. So we had to change it because that's just too risky. But now I'm on risperidone, which has been a lifesaver, as I've said. About my current treatment plan has been a lifesaver. It's changed my life, and I can't thank my team enough for it. I'm also on sertraline, which I've been on that for a couple years now. I'm at the highest dose, and it's helped. It really helps with the anxiety, and unfortunately, I do have untreatable persistent depressive disorder. So the depression side of things don't get a lot of benefit, but we move.
Also, tell me a little bit other things which you do beside writing and poetry.
I like to do art. I like painting.
Mhm,
I mostly do digital impressionism work.
mhm,
I love. I actually just recently picked up an iPad to use Procreate so I can do some digital work with that.
mhm,
And sometimes I do canvas work.
mhm.
Not as often as I used to, but I do sometimes. And then, the basics of video games. I love to cook, and I really enjoy photography.
Very nice. Mm. Okay, so tell me also about digital pictures or photography. Do you find it much better than canvas?
Photography for me is it's very relaxing, and but the digital art is a lot easier than the canvas art because you can erase things a lot easier. You can go back, you can undo, and it gives you a little bit more freedom to experiment.
Mhm,
And that's one thing I like to do with all forms of art is to experiment and just explore different avenues.
mhm. So when you're doing those photography or artistic work, do you like particular patterns or do you like um, kind of playing with nature or versus certain images?
I have been focused on foxes lately. I've been enjoying drawing foxes, but I have done humans, I've done animals, I've done scenery. I really just like to explore with everything.
Mm-hmm. And why foxes?
I don't know. I enjoy the aesthetic of them. They're beautiful creatures, and there's just something about them that speaks to me. My next goal is to draw a snow leopard because those are, I think, one of the most beautiful creatures on this planet. But foxes are very unique in their own way.
So you think you would write something fantasy also on Foxes?
There is a fox in the fantasy novel I have written, so it's actually intertwined in the story. The reason the fox is used is because of the sly fox metaphor. So that the fox basically is smart, is cunning, and kind of navigating things in a different way than, say, the wise owl kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And read other fiction or poetry?
I have written a post-apocalyptic. I write poetry, as I said. I've done a narrative nonfiction, though I never really went anywhere with that. I never finished it. I've done a lot of different, otherworldly kind of thing, other science fiction. I really love science fiction. I believe it's a wonderful genre. And I just like creating anything that comes to mind, and I go for it.
No, what I wanted to know was like your favorite writers or poets which you follow.
Oh, like writers I follow? Sorry, I totally misheard you.
No problem.
My favorite author would have to be Chevy Stevens. She's a Canadian BC author. She is phenomenal. Her work is like crime and fiction, and the stories she tells are gripping and heart-pounding, and the twists and the turns and the prose itself is phenomenal.
It's very interesting. A lot of females I interview and they love crime and fiction. So it's always interesting to know why crime and fiction really attracts a lot of females.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it because it kind of generates adrenaline or?
I don't know. I just find it. I guess there's a curiosity towards it. I'm not big on, horror movies or crime TV shows or stuff like that. But for some reason, Chevy's work just pulls me in.
So it's like Murder She Wrote type. Did you watch Murder She Wrote?
No, I've actually never seen it.
Yeah, you should read it. Also, it's a book too. And
that's what. Sorry.
It's a British author. So she used to write about crime, and it was kind of what you're describing. So they try to kind of work through the case and bit by bit try to solve the puzzle. So it's a lot of
I think I did see the movie or TV show or something.
Yeah, TV show.
Something.
So, but she has books too.
Yes.
So you like if you like more of those.
I did have a thing for Criminal Minds when I was a teenager, I will admit.
Okay, so you like that. What about, you mentioned about science fiction?
Yes. Science fiction for me, I'm really into dystopian. So things like The Hunger Games, Divergent, stuff like that was really fun. I've started The Maze Runner, but I'm not quite further on in it yet. What else have I read? It's been a long time since I read anything that sticks out. I also really just like fun fantasy books. So there's this book series I read when I was a kid called Guardians of Ga'Hoole. And that really inspired me to start writing. And then I moved on to the Warrior Cat series when I was in grade 6. And from there, I developed my own sense of writing and went from there.
Very nice. Also, tell me a little bit about any advice for new authors.
You are going to be heartbroken many times when you're trying to publish. You're going to get the rejections. You're going to get the no's. You're going to feel all that downhearted everything, but just keep trying, keep writing, keep working on your craft, maybe one day you'll get somewhere, and if you don't, just be proud of yourself for what you're doing. Be proud of it for you, not for everybody else.
And that is the main message. What keep doing what you love,
Yes.
because that is important. And what about other UFOs? You have any
Pardon?
UFOs?
I don't know a lot about UFOs.
So I say if you are into science fiction,
Oh,
then
yes. I loved Ender's Game.
you'd love
Yeah, Ender's Game was a good one.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, good. So I maybe read about a little bit of UFO, unidentified flying space.
Yes.
So you like, because if you are into the science fiction. Okay. Also, tell me any particular author about science fiction that you really like to read.
I would have to say, I can't remember his name off the top of my head because it has been a while since I read the book. But the author of Ender's Game, he wrote a couple books that I read, and they were phenomenal. He really has a way with his work. He has an amazing sense of creativity, and I just wish I could remember his name off the top of my head.
Okay. But don't worry, we'll come to you. So also tell me a little bit about COVID, how it has impacted in Canada.
COVID has been very heartbreaking. I have been lucky to not experience the loss from COVID. I have had friends who unfortunately lost family members, and it's been very tragic. I did have a friend recently, just a few days ago, lose somebody very close to them because of COVID, and it's devastating to watch this and to see it ravage our communities, our countries, our citizens' lives are being changed every day. For my family, it's been a lot of isolation. I haven't really seen my family in a long time. I finally got to see my grandparents the other day, but I haven't seen my brother in over a year.
Wow. That must be very hard. So also tell me a little bit, are things getting better where you?
With COVID?
Mm-hmm.
No.
No.
Not with the Omicron virus. It has impacted everything. The Omicron strain, sorry, it's bad. We were at 40,000 cases the other day, and they're just skyrocketing. So I did actually receive my booster just yesterday.
So you got your booster. Very good. So that is good news. That even people who get any other strains, and if they are boosted and they got immunized, then at least they have a better chance of survive.
Yeah.
So that is great. So tell me also, what are next 3 years for you? Are you anticipating more poetry?
Yes.
Writing?
I am currently working on another poetry collection that I'm hoping to release in 2023 or 2024. I have just finished The Buried King, so I'm hoping to kind of take a little break from that and then go back to writing the sequel if I want to, or a prequel, whatever sparks the inspiration. And I am working on little episodes for the world of the Buried King, and so we can introduce more characters, learn more about the story, the world, all that.
Would you like to share some of those from your poetry?
My poetry? I didn't quite catch that. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, would you like to share some of the verses from your?
I would love to, but I don't know if I can do that on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. No, I mean, oh yeah, I'm sure if you have read. I say if you just remember to. Okay, so for future we'll be seeing more poetry and then fiction, some.
Yes. I will continue writing fiction, and there will always be more poetry to come.
Would you be also writing something on crime?
I would love to do that someday. I would be very excited to write something like that, and I have contemplated it in the past. But it's definitely something that requires a lot of research, so I'd like to be prepared for diving into that world so I can give my readers the best possible outcome. Well,
Okay.
best possible book.
Very nice, very nice. And so, any final thoughts or message you have for our viewers?
Hope is possible, and I know everything is hard right now, but you can get through this. We're all going through it, and we're all human. Give yourself some credit for getting through this mess.
Thank you for coming to our show. It was a pleasure, and good luck on your poetry and also on your book.
Thank you.
Take care
Bye.
and Merry Christmas, Happy New
Merry
Year.
Christmas. Happy New Year.
Take care.